The sound of approaching engines once meant terror across every battlefield. Machines designed to dominate everything in their path. Yet these same mechanical marvels might have sealed their creator's doom before firing a single shot. What if the pursuit of perfection became Germany's greatest weakness? The answer might reshape everything you thought you knew about the Second World War. Two names still echo through military history decades later: Tiger, Panther. Their massive forms haunting battlefields from Normandy to Stalingrad, thick armor plates catching sunlight, long gun barrels sweeping across devastated landscapes. These steel predators became more than weapons. They transformed into nightmares for Allied crews. Sherman tank commanders would freeze at distant silhouettes. Soviet soldiers whispered stories around campfires. Fear traveled faster than radio reports. Modern war museums still draw crowds to stare at these mechanical giants. Their engineering remains breathtaking even today. Visitors circle massive hulls in wonder. Children press faces against display glass. The aura of invincibility persists 70 years later. But beneath this legendary status lurks a darker truth. These technological wonders may have accelerated Germany's collapse. Every resource poured into these monsters meant fewer ordinary tanks rolling off production lines. Each complex machine demanded mountains of steel that simpler vehicles could have used. The mathematics of war cared nothing for reputation or fear. Soviet factories churned out thousands of T-34s while German plants struggled to complete dozens of Tigers. American Sherman production lines operated around the clock. German engineers perfected intricate mechanisms that broke down constantly. This creates warfare's most haunting question. Should nations build masterpieces or multitudes? The choice between fewer perfect weapons or countless adequate ones shaped entire campaigns. Germany gambled everything on quality. Their enemies bet on quantity. Who chose correctly? The debate still rages among historians and military analysts. Supporters point to incredible kill ratios. Single Tiger crews destroying dozens of enemy tanks. Panther companies holding off entire Soviet brigades. These machines achieved tactical miracles impossible for lesser vehicles. Critics see wasted potential everywhere. Resources squandered on complex systems. Factories straining to produce handfuls of temperamental giants. Maintenance crews following each precious machine like medical staff attending royalty. Every breakdown meant irreplaceable losses. Meanwhile, Soviet assembly lines never stopped. American shipyards delivered endless streams of equipment. The industrial balance tilted further each month. Germany's technological edge meant nothing against overwhelming numbers. Consider the alternative timeline. Those same resources building thousands of simpler tanks. Panzer IV production doubled or tripled. Stug assault guns flooding Eastern Front positions. Reliable machines supported by abundant spare parts and fuel supplies. Could workhorses have succeeded where show pieces failed? The question haunts military strategists still. Germany faced an impossible choice in 1941. Soviet T-34s appeared like technological ghosts, their sloped armor deflecting German shells effortlessly. KV-1 heavy tanks absorbing punishment that should have destroyed them. German anti-tank weapons proved pathetically inadequate. Standard guns bounced shots off enemy hulls harmlessly. Panzer crews watched shells ricochet into empty air. The psychological impact was devastating. An army accustomed to dominance suddenly felt helpless. Emergency measures followed immediately. Captured Soviet guns pressed into service. Existing chassis stretched beyond design limits. New weapons rushed through development cycles. These stopgaps bought time, but solved nothing permanently. The fundamental problem remained unchanged. German armor was obsolete overnight. Either they accepted inferiority or leaped ahead dramatically. Middle ground offered no salvation. Conservative improvements meant gradual defeat. Revolutionary designs promised restored superiority. Thus, the Tiger and Panther emerged from desperation rather than ambition. Crisis birthed these mechanical monsters. Fear drove their creation more than pride or engineering curiosity. Every design decision carried enormous stakes. Thicker armor meant heavier vehicles. Bigger guns demanded stronger chassis. More complex systems required skilled maintenance. Each improvement created new problems elsewhere. German industry was already stretched thin. Oil supplies remained critically limited. Bombing raids threatened production facilities daily. Every choice eliminated other possibilities. Building Tigers meant fewer everything else. The Eastern Front revealed these contradictions brutally. Individual Tigers achieved stunning victories. Crews reported impossible kill counts. Single machines halting entire Soviet attacks. But strategic impact remained minimal. For every Tiger in action, the Red Army deployed dozens of replacements. Soviet factories relocated beyond bomber range operated continuously. Losses that crippled German units barely registered in Soviet calculations. The arithmetic was unforgiving. Quality versus quantity became Germany's defining choice. They selected excellence over abundance, individual superiority over collective strength. The decision seemed logical given their industrial limitations. They could never match Allied production volumes. But wars are won by systems, not single weapons. Logistics matter more than specifications. Reliability trumps performance when maintenance fails. Germany learned this lesson too late to matter. The Tiger entered service carrying impossible expectations. Its 88mm gun could destroy any Allied tank at extreme ranges. Armor protection made frontal penetration nearly impossible. On paper, it was invincible. Reality proved more complex. Mechanical breakdowns plagued early service. Complex transmission systems failed regularly. Engine fires destroyed machines without enemy intervention. Many Tigers never reached battlefields intact. Weight created constant problems. Bridges collapsed under massive bulk. Roads crumbled beneath steel tracks. Recovery operations required multiple vehicles and specialized equipment. Every breakdown became a logistical nightmare. Fuel consumption was astronomical. A single Tiger drank gasoline like an industrial plant. German fuel supplies were already inadequate for basic operations. Each Tiger took enough petroleum to supply several smaller vehicles. The Panther promised to solve these problems. Engineers studied captured T-34s intensively. Sloped armor became standard. Wider tracks distributed weight better. The 75mm gun matched the Tiger's penetrating power while using less space. Production costs dropped significantly compared to Tigers. Build times shortened moderately. The Panther looked like the perfect balance between power and practicality. Initial testing showed promising results. Then came Kursk. The largest tank battle in history became the Panther's trial by fire. Nearly 200 brand-new machines deployed for the decisive offensive. Mechanical failures began immediately. Engines overheated in summer dust. Transmissions seized under stress. Final drive components shattered repeatedly. By battle's start, barely half remained operational. The debut was catastrophic. Germany had gambled on untested technology for its most important offensive. The Panther's teething problems cost irreplaceable time and materials. Soviet defenses held partly because German armor failed mechanically. Eventually, the Panther matured into a formidable weapon. Late war versions achieved impressive reliability. Gun accuracy was exceptional. Armor protection exceeded most Allied designs, but the damage was done. Critical months were lost to mechanical problems. Resources disappeared into flawed early production. The window for decisive victory closed, while engineers fixed preventable issues. Meanwhile, reliable vehicles carried Germany's actual fighting burden. Panzer IV tanks soldiered on through every campaign. Stu-G assault guns destroyed countless enemy vehicles efficiently. These workhorses lacked glamour, but provided consistent service. German armies depended on these ordinary machines far more than legendary big cats. Panzer IV production continued until war's end. Stu-Gs became the most numerous German armored vehicle. They fought everywhere effectively. Their kill ratios might have been lower individually, but collective impact dwarfed the Tigers and Panthers. Thousands of reliable vehicles versus hundreds of temperamental giants. The mathematics favored quantity again. Allied strategy embraced this principle completely. Sherman tanks were adequate rather than exceptional. T-34s had significant flaws throughout their service lives, but both could be manufactured rapidly and maintained easily. American factories produced over 50,000 Shermans during wartime. Soviet plants built more than 80,000 T-34s in various models. These numbers overwhelmed any qualitative advantage German supertanks possessed. Individual German crews might destroy multiple Allied vehicles, but Allied crews could afford losses. Replacement tanks arrived continuously. Damaged vehicles were repaired quickly. The industrial machine never stopped. Germany's approach was fundamentally different. Each lost Tiger represented months of irreplaceable production. Panther casualties meant sophisticated components manufactured slowly and expensively. The resource investment was enormous. This created a vicious cycle. Fewer tanks meant each loss hurt more. Higher individual value made commanders cautious about deployment. Cautious deployment reduced combat effectiveness. The advantage of superior machines was gradually neutralized. By 1944, the strategic situation was hopeless. Allied bombing crippled German production facilities. Fuel shortages grounded entire panzer divisions. Supply lines collapsed under constant air attack. Even perfect tanks could not fight without support. The final campaigns revealed the truth starkly. Tigers sat immobilized without fuel. Panthers broke down on approaches to battle. Many were destroyed by their own crews to prevent capture. The mechanical marvels became strategic liabilities. Allied forces found hundreds of abandoned German vehicles. Fuel tanks empty. Spare parts exhausted. Maintenance crews fled or captured. The most sophisticated tanks in history died from neglect rather than combat. Yet their psychological impact endured. Allied soldiers still spoke of Tigers with respect tinged by fear. Veterans' accounts emphasized the dread these machines inspired. Even in defeat, they commanded attention. This creates the central paradox of their legacy. Tactically brilliant, but strategically disastrous. Individually superior, yet collectively insufficient. They won battles while losing the war. Their very excellence became Germany's weakness. The counterfactual question remains tantalizing. What if those resources had built simpler vehicles instead? Thousands more Panzerweifels and Stu-Gs flooding Eastern Front positions. Reliable machines supported by adequate logistics. Could mass deployment of ordinary tanks have changed outcomes? The arithmetic is compelling. Resources for one Tiger could build several medium tanks. Panther materials could produce multiple assault guns. Simple multiplication suggests dramatic possibilities. Imagine German commanders never short of replacements, Soviet offensives facing endless streams of adequate defenders. Numbers offsetting individual inferiority through collective strength. The Eastern Front balance might have shifted significantly, but this scenario faces hard limits too. Germany's fundamental problems went beyond tank design. Oil remained critically scarce. Air superiority belonged to enemies. Industrial capacity could never match Allied production. Even doubled German tank numbers would still be outnumbered heavily. Soviet production was simply overwhelming. American industrial might was unprecedented in human history. No design choice could overcome such disparities completely. The real lesson lies deeper than tank specifications. Total war requires total resources. Industrial capacity matters more than individual quality. Sustainability trumps perfection when conflicts extend across years. Germany's choice reflected their strategic situation. Unable to match enemy numbers, they sought technological edges. Quality became their only possible advantage. The logic was sound, even if results were disappointing. Allied nations could afford different approaches. American industrial capacity enabled quantity strategies. Soviet population supported massive production programs. They built adequate weapons in overwhelming numbers. This fundamental difference shaped military cultures permanently. German emphasis on precision and excellence. Allied focus on reliability and mass production. Two philosophies tested in history's largest conflict. The results speak for themselves. German technical superiority meant nothing against industrial supremacy. Individual brilliance could not overcome collective strength. The most advanced weapons failed when unsupported by adequate resources. Today, these lessons remain relevant. Military planners still debate similar questions. Should limited resources buy fewer advanced systems or more basic ones? The Tiger versus Sherman comparison echoes in modern defense discussions. The answer depends partly on conflict expectations. Short, decisive campaigns might favor quality. Extended conflicts require sustainability. Germany expected quick victories, but fought long wars. Their strategy mismatched their reality. The Tiger and Panther legacy is therefore complex. They remain engineering marvels worthy of admiration. Museum displays still draw crowds fascinated by their power. Popular culture keeps their mythology alive through films and games, but historical analysis reveals deeper truths. These machines embodied flawed strategic thinking. They consumed resources Germany could not spare. They solved tactical problems while creating strategic disasters. Their crews fought bravely with whatever equipment they received. Individual achievements were often remarkable, but personal courage could not overcome systemic failures. The machines themselves were symptoms of larger problems. Understanding this helps explain Germany's defeat. Superior weapons could not compensate for inferior strategy. Technological brilliance meant nothing without industrial support. The most fearsome tanks became monuments to strategic failure. The debate continues among historians and enthusiasts. Some still argue for the heavy tank's necessity. Others insist they accelerated Germany's collapse. Both positions contain elements of truth. What remains clear is the broader lesson. Wars are won by nations, not weapons. Industrial capacity matters more than individual brilliance. Sustainability trumps perfection in extended conflicts. These truths transcend specific technologies. The Tiger roared across battlefields, inspiring fear and respect. The Panther stalked through campaigns demonstrating technical excellence. But in the end, they were overwhelmed by countless ordinary machines. Quantity defeated quality through sheer persistence. Their legacy lives on in museums and memories. Visitors still marvel at their imposing presence. Veterans' accounts preserve their fearsome reputation. Popular culture celebrates their mechanical sophistication. Yet beneath the legend lies a sobering truth. These remarkable machines helped lose the war they were built to win. Their excellence became their weakness. Their sophistication proved their undoing. The thunder of approaching engines once meant terror. Now it echoes as a reminder. In total war, brilliance alone is never enough. Numbers matter more than individual prowess. The many will always overcome the few. That is the final lesson of the Tiger and Panther. Not about tanks or technology, but about war itself. About choices made under pressure. About the illusions of superiority. About the arithmetic that decides nations' fates. They were magnificent machines that lost everything. Perfect weapons that failed completely. Legends built on strategic mistakes. Their roar still echoes through history as a warning about the seductive danger of pursuing perfection over practicality in warfare's unforgiving mathematics.